Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new On the Mark TV and radio from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and today we're going down to Bradley International Airport. There's a new airline at Bradley called Avelo, and it's making big changes across the country. It's arrived at Bradley International Airport with flights to 3 international destinations. And here to chat with us about it is Courtney Goff from Avelo. And one thing you should know about Avelo is it started in 2021 on the West Coast, opened a base in New Haven, Connecticut, and transformed an airport which had no commercial air service into the second largest commercial airport in Connecticut with service to numerous destinations. And it has set up an employee base in New Haven and become a major player in the New Haven economy. And Avelo is set to do that for Hartford Springfield. Courtney, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, could you describe a little bit about what kind of service you're offering from Hartford Springfield?
Yeah, absolutely. So we just started flying Hartford last November. Like you said, we have 3 international destinations: Montego Bay, Jamaica, Cancun, Mexico. We're going to start Punta Cana in the next couple of weeks. And then we also have destinations to Wilmington, North Carolina, and Daytona Beach. So we're excited that we're moving north up to Bradley to offer some international destinations as well as some favorite destinations from the state of Connecticut. So really excited. We offer a really great value-based service where you can choose what you value when you travel. If that's 10 bags, if it's no bags, if it's a seat in the front or a seat wherever because you're just trying to get to your destination, we're going to offer you the most reliable and convenient service from Connecticut.
And in terms of the service that you offer, how many destinations in total are you serving right now from Hartford?
From Hartford, we're at 5 destinations total, and then we have about 27 down in New Haven, Connecticut. So we're over 30 destinations. We're the largest. We have the most amount of routes from the state of Connecticut, but really wanting to offer those routes that people are looking for so they don't have to go to the hustle and bustle of the New York City area airports or into Boston or anything along those lines.
That's true. And I would assume that the prices of the other carriers will come down because Avelo always comes in at a lower price point at Bradley, and you're offering a lot of international service that Bradley has never seen before.
Yes, exactly. That's what our goal is. Our mission is to inspire travel, and we do that with our really great affordable fares, convenience, reliability, and going places that other carriers aren't going, at least initially. Sometimes we have some people that jump in on top of us, but for the most part, we're going to be the only nonstop carrier. We're going to keep our prices low, which is great for the consumer as well as for the other airport, because like you said, usually when a carrier comes in with lower costs, it lowers the cost of other carriers as well. So it's a really great benefit for those in Southern Mass as well as the state of Connecticut.
How did Avelo start? Who started it, and what was the game plan, and why did they choose Connecticut as their first East Coast base?
Absolutely. So our founder and our CEO is Andrew Levy. He was one of the kind of founding members of Allegiant Air's team, worked with United, has worked with Copa Airlines, and has been with a various amount of airlines in his past. And his mission, like I said earlier, was to inspire travel and to do it in a different way, where it's not, necessarily the, all-inclusive service of some carriers, but really focusing on giving customers choice and value. So it's not a nickel and dime. It's okay, here's what's going to make sense. And what his really big key is reliability. We are the most reliable airline in the U.S. in 2024. We canceled the least amount of flights, and we led the industry in on-time percentage. So when he brought in leaders from a bunch of different carriers, as well as, up-and-coming aviation professionals, he really was looking for those that can help maintain operational success, as well as build an airline knowing what worked at this airline won't work here, what worked here will also work here, and just taking the best parts of his experience and putting it into a new airline that's focusing on its customers and maintaining really great service and really great pricing.
And you've chosen a lot of airports that don't have commercial service or have very limited service to serve, other than Bradley has everything, but New Haven was dormant. American Airlines had pulled out of New Haven, and it was only offering one flight a day, if that, out of the city. And all of a sudden, Tweed New Haven Airport is just packed.
Yes, exactly. We look for those underserved markets or not served at all in New Haven's case. We look for those markets where there's a need for air travel. You look down in Southern Connecticut, and their choice was to drive. It's like about an hour to get to Hartford, or you have to fight the New York City traffic for the three airports down there. So there was a void in that area that we were happy to go in and fulfill, and initially start off with your leisure destinations to all of your Floridas, Carolinas, that kind of thing. And now we're really expanding. Just in the next couple of months, we're launching flights to Dallas, DFW, to Detroit. We just started last year to Atlanta, and to Charlotte Concord. So not only are we giving you the leisure nonstop destinations, but also for potentially the business traveler, that the friends and family that live in Dallas, or Dallas and other places are great tourism opportunities as well. So we're really expanding upon just the Florida, just the beaches, to a lot of places across the Eastern and Middle America part of the country, but really looking at those underserved where we can come in and fill a void where people are either traveling upwards of an hour, or it's not the most convenient airport. And also just maintaining low fares. We go into some places where they'll have your, big three carriers, but prices are sky high. And so if we can come in here and work with our airport partners and community partners and see what's a great destination that's not served, or what's a destination that is served that we can make a little bit more affordable, and get people there when they want to get there. So we really look at all the data and really look at where people want to go and where there's a void we can fill.
And I understand, at least in New Haven, that you've had a major impact, economic impact on New Haven and its suburbs at Tweed New Haven. Will you have a similar kind of impact in Hartford, or and have a base a crew there the way there's crew based in New Haven, or is Hartford a different operation?
So we are calling our Hartford. Hartford is one of our bases. We have an aircraft that's based there, which means, in layman's terms, it sleeps overnight. It will do it. It'll start the day there. It'll go on a couple of routes, and then it'll end its night and go to sleep at Hartford. We'll have pilots and flight attendants that are based out of Hartford. So those pilots and flight attendants will strictly be flying those routes out of Bradley. And then we'll have crew members that are solely based in Bradley. We'll have a couple of our maintenance technicians, and some of the senior leadership that'll go back and forth between the two bases, just because our presence in Tweed is very big. So we are working on maybe keeping New Haven as kind of our ginormous base of 7 planes. We have 10 planes dedicated to the state of Connecticut, but really kind of slowly moving. It's kind of a crawl, walk, run method up at Bradley, just because, like you mentioned, there is a lot of service. There are a lot of opportunities up there that we definitely want to jump on, especially international. New Haven does not have the customs and immigration capabilities that Bradley does. So we're working on trying to grow Bradley, but also maintaining our New Haven and Southern Connecticut roots on that as well.
Now, Bradley does have an international, it has customs and immigration. It does have other international carriers. Does that mean you fly out of the main terminal and arrive at that small international terminal across the street?
Yes. Just like how I believe it's Aer Lingus and a couple of other carriers that do international will go out of the main terminal as usual, but when you arrive back, you will go into the international terminal, which, like you said, it's a little small area. There's, I think, 5 or 6 booths to go through, and then there's we work really well with the airport, and so it enables us to have buses that will come in that will either take you immediately to your parking spot if you didn't check any bags. If you did check bags, it'll take you over to the main terminal, so that you can pick up your bags and get rental cars or whatever on that end. But that's what's kind of nice about Bradley's customs immigration, is that it's only can fit one airline or airplane at a time, so that basically your flight is, first class number 1 to get off the plane and get either back to the terminal or back to your parking spot to head home.
That's great. What's your role with Avelo?
So I am the communications manager. I handle media relations and airport relations across the Middle America, East Coast, and national. So I really dig into people like you and then to our community partners to see where we can be involved and spread the word about Avelo. So I communicate with people all over the country, specifically more on the East Coast and Middle America, to really engage people and tell the story of Avelo because we go into new markets and we're very creative in the way that you're not, if you live in Arkansas, for example, where I'm from, nobody knows about Avelo, and they wouldn't because we do not fly to Arkansas. We're very strategic in that sense, where when we come in, we initially, I like to say, blitz people with PR focused events, with pop up events, engaging in local community events, so that we can really dig in and really create kind of an Avelo hometown airline atmosphere, much like we've done in Connecticut, being proud partners with UConn Athletics, University of New Haven, Quinnipiac, as well as a lot of other entities up there where we can really dig in and become like we're Connecticut's hometown airline, really dig into some of our other markets in that sense to build brand awareness and show customers that we're here for the long haul and we're going to get you where you need to go on time and to your favorite destinations.
How did you get involved with Avelo? Did you have previous airline experience, or did you just see it as a great opportunity?
Yes, so I worked with Allegiant Air for several years and have been in the tourism and hospitality business for a while, doing communications and marketing. And when Avelo started up, one of my good friends that I worked with at Allegiant, that he works in our maintenance technician program, was like, "Hey, they're starting to do in-house communications. Typically, when a new company starts off, they'll have a PR agency or something along those lines." And so when they were ready to have somebody come in-house and work with Avelo, I jumped on the opportunity. Andrew and I briefly crossed paths at Allegiant, and then several of our other senior leaders were at Allegiant when I was there. So I knew there was a really great foundation, and I really loved the promise of doing something different and really creating a great atmosphere for customers and for crew members alike. We call all of our employees crew members, whether you are senior level or you're at the gate agent. We are all, one crew is our mentality, to really create a great atmosphere for working, and then just a great company that we are proud to push forward in all the communities we serve.
And you're officially headquartered in Houston, Texas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Where,
Yes,
where
correct.
where do you work from?
I'm in Houston, Texas, but I also tell everybody that I also live at your, local Marriott or your local boutique hotel. I travel a lot for work. Really making sure that we're digging into all the communities that we serve. So this week I get to sleep in my own bed in Houston, and then next week we're off to launch some international stuff at Raleigh, Durham, and then starting Punta Cana the next week in Connecticut. So I get to jump around the country a lot and really be on the ground and engaging with our partners and customers, which is a really exciting thing for me. I'm not an office person, so whenever I can get out there and jump in and talk to people and share the story of Avelo and our mission is always a great day for me.
In your mindset, working for an upstart and a new airline, what makes your work experience unique working for Avelo as compared to working with Allegiant that had been well established?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think what's fun about being with the startup is that sometimes you go into companies and we've always done it this way. This is how we're going to do it. And being with a startup airline we just accomplished I can't even count right now. We're into our 4th year now. Being able to come in and have a new, fresh set of ideas and being willing to try everything. And that's what's really great about Avelo right now, is that we're still small enough where we can make those nimble decisions. Like the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so we are able to add a route from our Philadelphia Wilmington base down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. We're able to try some new ideas without, worried about creating a cascading effect on the company. It really lets us get out there and dive into communities and really try new things that might be a little, off the beaten path. But just because we're not super established, like the Allegiance and the other airlines of the world, where this is how we do it, this is what works, we're allowed to try different things and pop in and out. And that's really exciting, especially in communications when your mind's always buzzing about ideas and opportunities. And same with our network planners. We're able to try new routes and see, what's going to work, what we think is going to work, and then how we can kind of manipulate and grow from there. We always say that, initially we start with one route to one destination. We did that with Wilmington, North Carolina. We started with just a New Haven, and now they're one of our largest non-base cities. They have 11 nonstop routes and are about to be a base. So just being able to be nimble and try things and really kind of deep and engage not only with the crew members, but our customers is a really, really exciting thing to do.
Courtney, we have to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters. But before we do, if people want to learn more about Avelo, where do they go to find the information?
Absolutely. You can go to aveloair.com. That's AVELO air.com. We've got all of the information about all the routes we fly, all of our information on reliability, so you can see compared to all other airlines in the U.S. Where we fall with reliability, as well as job opportunities and all that kind of fun stuff at aveloair.com, or follow us on social media at aveloair.
Okay, terrific. We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back to talk more about Avelo. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donuts shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. If you've missed a part of today's program and you want to watch it again or you want to share it with friends, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. And we want to thank Elisa Sizik at Bradley International Airport for connecting us with Courtney Goff of Avelo today. We've often had people from Bradley here on this program, and we're all lucky, I think, to have a resource like Bradley International Airport in our backyard. And Courtney, I just heard great things about Avelo since you entered the Hartford market. And I was lucky enough to cover one of the events that you did in New Haven with the opening of the East Coast base there. And having gone to school in New Haven and lived near that near Tweed, New Haven, it was so sad to see airline service end there, and so exciting to see it come back to life as Avelo. And the business has been so brisk there that it's my understanding the city is looking to build a new terminal to accommodate all the traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. The city and the community in New Haven is definitely looking, and I believe has approvals in place to expand not only the runway to make it longer, but also to update and expand the terminal facilities, which will be a great benefit to all of the Avelo customers and other travelers that are flying through the Tweed New Haven Airport.
So if you lived in Western Massachusetts, in our neighborhood, where you're 25 minutes maximum from Bradley, and maybe an hour and 15 minutes distance from Tweed, New Haven. Tweed offers a lot more destinations than Bradley does at this point. Do you think Bradley will catch up?
I think there's always the possibility for Bradley to catch up. I think one of the really great things about Bradley is that not only do you have the Avelo option, but you have some other options as well. But it also kind of makes it unique where if you're flying to some of those destinations that we also have from Tweed, if you need to leave on a Thursday and come back on a Monday, and Bradley has a Thursday, Sunday schedule, you could fly out of Bradley back into Tweed or vice versa. So we're really working with our partners at Bradley. Like you mentioned, Alyssa's been a great resource to work with, as well as the CAA. So we are always looking at growth opportunities there. We have a unique opportunity in New Haven, being when we initially started, Up until December, we were the only carrier in there. So we were able to kind of grow and make things work really well within our facilities there as the only airline. So when we come into Bradley, they have a lot of other great carriers and other service. So we've got to kind of fit things in where we can with the schedule and whatnot. So I think you'll definitely see growth at Bradley. But right now, I don't know if we're at the pace, just because, like we mentioned earlier, we are a new airline, continuously growing and acquiring new aircraft. So I don't know if it'll be a sprint there, but it's definitely going to be a process where we will continue to grow at Bradley.
Since you're part of the communications and public relations is such an integral part of any company, are you part of the team that looks at a new market and says, it evaluates whether service to that market's going to work? Because it's a small company, I would assume that a lot of teams work together to make new service happen.
Yeah, so we have a really great network planning team that kind of digs into the data and works with potential new airports in our service. So we have a team that works with them. They will communicate, here's a list of potential cities. And of course, I like to add in my input. I've been in aviation for several years now and worked with people that have worked from all the different airlines. So I'll add in my 2 cents, but ultimately we have a great network planning team that kind of digs in and makes those decisions, with past experience and with knowledge from airports that my past airline served versus where we might serve. Like I said, I can add in my 2 cents, but ultimately we have a really great network planning team that kind of digs in and makes those decisions. And then once we kind of have them, 90% firmed, I'll jump in and start the initial process of introducing and planning announcement events and just making sure that all communication and brand awareness aspects are ready when we are ready to hit the go button or hit the launch button on announcing new routes.
What are some of the most fun promotions that you've had a chance to do?
Oh, there's been a lot. We did, when we had our 1 millionth customer in our network overall, we did a surprise flight from Burbank to Boise. The 1 millionth customer in totality of the airline happened to be on that flight. So we did a surprise where we surprised everyone on that flight from Burbank to Boise with a free round trip ticket and some promo codes to share with their friends and family. We also do a lot of fun activations where we'll pick a random flight and we will find our most frequent flyer on that route. So if there's 150 people that are going down to Tampa, for example, Tampa, Florida, out of New Haven, we'll go in there and we'll look through it. We'll work with our data team, and we might find someone that's been on 100 flights. And we'll do a surprise and delight where everyone on the flight will get a promo code, and then that winner will get a free ticket or something along those lines. Or when we're starting new routes, we like to have kind of fun inaugural parties where we'll surprise everyone with, some sort of treats or celebration. Or I think everyone's favorite thing is when we take a new flight and we have the fire trucks do the water cannon arch where the plane goes through the water arch. So being able to surprise customers and making sure, I always have to make sure the pilots tell everyone, this is a special inaugural flight. Don't be worried about the fire trucks. But it's always a really cool experience, especially watching kids where it might be their first flight, seeing that, and then just seeing kids visit the flight deck. We also do a really fun event in New Haven with the Special Olympics of Connecticut, the plane pool, where teams from all across Connecticut and some from Massachusetts and the New York area will come in, and you have a team of 20 people and they're pulling one of our huge 737-800s. They're trying to see who can pull it the fastest, I think it's 20 feet the fastest. And just seeing, you'll get like a big group of like police officers, or sometimes it'll be a mixture of, kids that might be part of a STEM program or one of our aviation programs that we work with within the state. So those are always really exciting opportunities when you can, really get people involved. And the plane pools are really cool because you don't realize how big a plane is until you're standing next to the engine and just looking up and realizing, oh my goodness, that's why we have to climb this ramp to get on the plane initially, with how big they are in real life. And seeing people pull them is pretty cool too.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned is that when a new route opens, there are a bunch of YouTubers that are called Av Geeks, and they cover flights. And the reason I learned about it is we broadcast, and our studios are at Westfield Technical Academy, which is one of 3 high schools in the country that has an aviation program affiliated with the regional airport in Westfield, Massachusetts. And these kids graduate high school and go to work for companies like Bombardier and things like that. And a bunch of them follow these Av Geeks on YouTube and talk about it. And so when the first flight from New Haven left, there must have been 30 or 40 videos that young people took of the plane landing, taking off, and stuff like that. So when I hit Avelo, all these videos came up, and you've got a real fan base among high school and college aviators.
Yeah, absolutely. We affectionately call them Av Geeks, of course, and I think it's kind of they claim the title very well, but they're really great resources where, like you said, they're young kids that just love aviation, and they will just jump in and join, whether it's pilot programs or maintenance programs, or, we have several people that work with Avelo that started their aviation career just throwing bags at the airport, getting your bag, and we call it throwing bags. We're obviously very careful with bags, but they'll take your bags and they'll be the ones loading them onto the plane. And they've learned the operational. So now they're part of our regional management teams that help make sure that operations run smoothly at some of our non-base cities, where we have third parties that will check you in and do all of the gate management stuff. So it's a really great opportunity. We love working with youth. We have a partnership in East Haven, an aviation program. We're constantly working with women in aviation or girls in aviation events. We were partnered of one down in Puerto Rico, where we have several flights too. So we really are looking to kind of establish growth in the aviation community, whether it's on the technical side, working with flight ops or tech ops or maintenance, or you want to be a pilot or a flight attendant, or even kind of go through the back door. I always say sometimes people don't realize that there's more than just your pilots, flight attendants, and gate agents. You've got communications team. We've got a great data team that runs algorithms to make sure that, the timing works for everything, that our pricing stays competitive, but also doesn't get too high or too low. I know sometimes people can sneak through and find a $20 fare every now and then, but really making sure that everything on the back end is working so that customers, so that they can successfully think, oh, this airline is great with the pilots and the flight attendants and the gate agents. They don't know about all of the minions working behind the scenes that really help to contribute to make Avelo work, as well as allow them to have a great travel experience.
Courtney Goff from Avelo Airlines, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And we hope we can grab some Southern Mass people to come to Hartford or travel down to Bradley too, down to New Haven as well.
And I hope people do. And it's aveloair.com is the website, so you can learn more about Avelo. We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters. We'll be back with more On the Mark. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program, or you want to watch it or listen to it again, or share it with friends, it's archived along with all of our other programs on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. An institution in Western Massachusetts is Baystate Medical Center's Children's Hospital, and up and coming really soon, on March 4th, they will do their annual radiothon on our station WMAS in Greater Springfield, and to raise money to support the programs at Baystate's Children's Hospital. Our guest this half hour is Dr. Charlotte Boney, who is an integral part of Baystate Health's Children's Hospital. Welcome to On the Mark, Doctor. And first of all, for those people that don't know what the Children's Hospital is, they know it's downtown in that big building on Chestnut Street. But what exactly is it?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm just delighted to be here. I really appreciate your time. And thank you to the viewers or listeners, I guess, who are tuning in. Yes, so Baystate Children's Hospital is a fully accredited, full-service children's hospital located within Baystate Medical Center. So we're a separately accredited children's hospital. And we provide tertiary care to newborns, babies, infants, adolescents. We have an acute care unit, the region's only neonatal intensive care unit, the region's only pediatric intensive care unit, the region's only pediatric emergency room. I could go on and on. We have a number of pediatric subspecialists. And so we provide really what I think is outstanding care, both inpatient and outpatient subspecialty care to the kids in Western Mass. And honestly, we couldn't do it without the community support. So this is our 24th Radiothon, March 4th and 5th, as you said. And like all other children's hospitals, we really rely on the community support through philanthropy to upgrade equipment, buy new state-of-the-art equipment, upgrade facilities, have programs that support patient and family experiences that aren't revenue generating. So we're your children's hospital. I used to say we're the best kept secret in Western Massachusetts, but I think that's a little better now over the years. And we've had great support from the community. So to your listeners, thank you very much if you've supported us in the past.
Can you explain to people, I mean, a children's hospital specializes, the patients are obviously children and infants and newborns, but how does the treatment, for example, an adult gets leukemia and a child gets leukemia, how is it treated differently, and why would a children's hospital, what would bring a child there rather than putting them in an adult facility?
So I think that's a great question. Thank you for that question. Pediatric medicine is very different from adult medicine. So if you think about it, let's take your example of leukemia. Infants and children get a very different sort of form of leukemia than adults would get. And so the care of children is very different, everything from the medications they respond to, but also the environment is different, right? We want kids to not just get well and feel better, but really thrive. And so that means working with the child developmentally appropriately, whether you're a baby, a toddler, a child, or an adolescent. Families are always involved. So for example, we can't do this without nurses that specialize in pediatrics, respiratory therapists, child life specialists, and then we have pediatricians and other pediatric specialists that are specially trained in the diseases, acquired and otherwise kind of diseases in children. But if you think about it, every developmental stage adds a layer of complexity, right? So the newborn that's sick in an intensive care unit is different than a 3-year-old, is different from a 13-year-old. So that's what gives pediatrics its complexity. You know, I know people understand that children aren't just small adults, but it is a very different world. Pediatrics is very different from adult medicine. Now, obviously, there are some overlapping conditions that are treated similarly, but I think most families understand that if you want excellent care for your child, you want to go to a hospital or a clinic or an office where they specialize in pediatric care. And so that's exactly what we do. Now, there are some things that we don't do at Baystate Children's Hospital. So, for example, heart surgery in newborns. You'd need to go to Boston for that. But we provide the vast majority of what I consider tertiary care to infants and children right here.
And you have to create a different environment for these infants, toddlers, and children than they do at Baystate in the other units and wards.
Exactly. Think about if you think back to your own experiences, even as an adult in healthcare, how you're treated, how the staff engages you, how you are made to feel comfortable. Are you confident? Are you comfortable? Do you understand what's going on? So that's true for children. So not only do we have to engage the family in shared decision making and understanding what's going on, but we have to engage the child.
I remember going on a tour of a facility that it was a Baystate facility on Wasson Street that was for children, and you walked into the lobby and it was like a playground. I mean, it was
wasn't that nice?
Yeah,
yes,
bright colors and everything. Exactly. It was very engaging and warm, which you just don't expect when you walk into an adult unit. Is the Children's Hospital like that with toys and distractions?
Absolutely. So you are, that facility you're talking about is Baystate Children's Specialty Center. That's where our pediatric subspecialists see outpatients. So pediatric cardiologists, gastroenterologists, enterologists, I could go on and on. But you're absolutely right. That environment is critical to putting a child at ease. And honestly, if you think about it, even for adults, you walk into any building, but particularly a medical practice. Is it clean? Is it warm? Is it inviting? Or is it cold and sterile, right? You feel differently instantly, but as an adult, you're sort of able to process that a little differently. But just, first impressions are everything, right?
Exactly.
Always. And so to put that child at ease, and it puts the family at ease, it makes the family think, okay, this is pretty nice. This is pretty child friendly. Maybe I can trust these people with my child. So the Radiothon will raise money to improve some of those facilities. We want you and your child to feel comfortable, like you're in the right place for great care.
So when you're doing this Radiothon, do you have a goal in mind of what you'd like to raise this year?
Well, I don't, and I don't want to jinx it, but I will tell you that this money is critical for upgrading equipment, replacing equipment, buying new equipment that's state of the art. So I'll give you an example. Last year, thanks to generous community donors to our Radiothon, we were able to purchase this cool little ultrasound device so that it would make it easier to put IVs in babies. I mean, you can imagine how hard it would be to put an IV in a baby. We don't want to have to stick that baby multiple times. We want to get it in the first time. And obviously, a crying, sick baby, there's a lot of stress in the room. Get that IV in so you can take care of this child. So the Radiothon made it possible for us to buy this cool, fancy little ultrasound device that is portable so that we can put IVs in babies, get it right the first time. And so not only does that enhance the treatment that we're able to give, but obviously we don't harm the child. The child's not tortured by having multiple sticks for an IV. Torture, that's a little heavy, but you get my drift there.
I do. So you've had this phonathon is not new. It's been around for quite a while. What are some of the projects besides this ultrasound thing that the community, and I assume that it's individuals and businesses that can support the Radiothon, what are some of the projects that they've done in the past, and what is your greatest need this year?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. So upgrading facilities, and that could mean new flooring, pediatric-specific furniture, toys, books, pediatric-sized wheelchairs. I mean, think about that. Last year, Radiothon made it possible for us to buy some pediatric-sized wheelchairs. The Radiothon has also made it possible for us to buy these very special bassinets for premature babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. They're called a giraffe bed. They cost $40,000.
Wow.
But basically, it reproduces the environment of the uterus. So you've got this premature baby born, 10, 15, 20 weeks early. And this fancy bassinet provides temperature and humidity and lighting, and you have access to the kid easily to examine the baby and to draw blood, to weigh the baby. I mean, it's sort of amazing We have a 55-bed NICU. 35 of those beds are intensive care beds for newborns, many of whom are in the NICU because they were born prematurely. So this sort of fancy equipment is sort of life. I mean, it makes it possible for us to care for these precious, very vulnerable premature babies in a way that gives them the best outcome possible. And we don't have enough giraffe beds because they're $40,000 a piece, right? I think we have 8. I'd love it if we had 12 or 15. So it's things like that. Another thing that the Radiothon is supporting is our facility dog, Isabella. So children's hospitals now, about 100 children's hospitals in the country now have facility dogs. And this is a step above a therapy dog. This is a step above a service dog. So facility dogs are trained specially like police dogs or other service dogs to care for children and families, to put them at ease, to distract them, to comfort them. And she's a 3-year-old golden retriever. She's absolutely amazing, but to buy her meant purchasing the dog from a very reputable training facility that trains the dogs, training the handlers, keeping that training going over time, providing for the dog everything, from vet care and grooming to all, everything that a dog needs. And Isabella has made an absolute difference in how some of our patients feel. Like, she will literally come in, and if the child likes dogs, she'll snuggle up with the child while the nurse on the other side of the bed is trying to put an IV in, or while a doctor on the other side of the bed is doing some kind of procedure, and the child is completely distracted. So that kid didn't need sedation. That kid doesn't need pain meds. It's sort of remarkable, really.
And does the dog live at Baystate, or does the dog have a home it goes to at night?
So she goes home with her child life handler. So child life specialists are trained in sort of comfort care is not the right way to put it, but they are trained to understand the developmental stage of every child, how to engage you in therapy, whether that's play therapy, whether that's distraction. Child life specialists, when I was coming up in medicine 30 years ago, it was a luxury to have child life in your hospital. Only large, freestanding, very highly resourced hospitals had child life specialists. They have been shown over the decades to reduce the length of stay you have to be in the hospital, reduce the amount of pain meds. That they've actually looked at stress hormone levels in children who engage with or not facility dogs, and stress hormone levels are reduced. It's sort of amazing. So now it's a requirement for children's hospitals to have child life specialists. So Isabella is really the golden retriever facility dog is part of the child life team at Baystate Children's Hospital, and she's had a huge impact on not just children and their families, but on staff and doctors too. We love seeing her too.
And we should probably tell people that the marathon is being conducted by WMAS Radio, and you can learn all about this at Baystate Health's website, which is baystatehealth.org. And Baystate, which is a great community service provider, also does a lot of other special events during the course of the year. You can read all about them at baystatehealth.org. This is one of many advancement initiatives that Baystate is doing to make their services better for the people of Western Massachusetts. I know that Baystate has satellite hospitals like at Franklin County and here in Westfield at Noble Hospital, but those facilities don't have the level of pediatric care that you have downtown.
They have no pediatric care. And if a child is seen in their emergency room and they need an admission, they're transferred here to us. I just want to thank again your listeners and the community for their support of our Radiothon and Baystate Children's Hospital. We really can't do this without you. We are so grateful for your support, even if it's just $5 or $10. Every penny counts, and it really makes a difference in the way in which we can take care of your child.
And if you didn't do this radiothon every year, you would have to depend on individuals that just thought up the idea of giving money or grants or corporate support. And we all know with the change in presidential regime that a lot of funding is being cut or stalled and things like that. How will all of this impact Baystate's Children's Hospital?
So that I wish I knew. I wish I had an answer for that. I really don't know. I think because I don't have an answer for you. I wish I knew.
But I get nobody really has any answers, but it's certainly something we all think about, in terms of every nonprofit in Western Massachusetts.
Right. Well, and we're quite worried about medical support of children and their families through Medicaid. And Massachusetts does a great job of taking care of lower income families and those children through Medicaid. And that's every child deserves to have outstanding health care and access to health care, regardless of that family's ability to pay. So I guess if I'm worried about anything, it's any federal cuts to something like Medicaid.
Yeah, we got to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back to talk more with Dr. Boney. While we take that break, again, go to Baystate's website at baystatehealth.org, and you get all the details about the Radiothon, the dates. You can even go down and watch some of it at the Basketball Hall of Fame and all of that good stuff. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll return after these messages.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We're chatting with Dr. Charlotte Boney from the Baystate Children's Hospital. The annual marathon takes place courtesy of WMAS March 4th and March 5th. At the Basketball Hall of Fame, the Kellogg crew will be raising money for Baystate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. those days. And if you've want to support a great cause and help the children in our community, mark it down on your calendar and either go down there with a check or your credit card, or you can do it over the phone, and you could probably also do it online. Dr. Boney, how did you get involved in pediatrics?
Oh, boy, what a question. So I chose pediatrics as a career back in medical school, really in the 80s. And, making a decision like that is always kind of a leap of faith, and it certainly ended up to be the right thing for me. I have a lot of friends who are internal medicine doctors and family doctors, and they take care of a lot of adults. And they're constantly saying to me, how do you take care of kids? Kids can't really tell you what's wrong. Well, they can. You just have to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to pay attention. Families are great at telling you what they think is going on, and kids are just more fun, frankly. Kids are just more fun than adults. Parents want to do the right thing for their children. So it's been a wonderful career. I got recruited to Baystate 10 years ago. Formerly, I was in Rhode Island at Brown University and Hasbro Children's Hospital, and I have to say, it's what I love about working at Baystate is the mission to take care of this community, including children and their families. And the staff and doctors here are really committed to taking care of children and their families. We love what we do. And right, that's how you're successful. You love what you do, and so you want to do it well.
And what is the appeal for you of Springfield, moving from Rhode Island to Springfield and Western Mass?
Well, it was the job, actually. Baystate Children's Hospital was this little gym out in Western Mass. It was sort of the best kept secret in Western Massachusetts. But the hospital had this fabulous mission of taking care of children and their families out here as sort of the only providers of state-of-the-art care. And I loved the staff and the physicians that I met, and it's been a great ride. And I've had the luxury of having senior leadership at Baystate Health really want to do the right thing for children and their families and support Baystate Children's Hospital and pediatric care. So you really can't ask for more than that. It's been a blast.
How many doctors and nurses do we have at Baystate that specialize in pediatrics?
So we have about 75 pediatricians in various subspecialties. We have another, I would say, 50 pediatric specialists, from pediatric surgeons, pediatric anesthesiologists, child psychiatrists, pediatric emergency medicine docs, pediatric radiologists. And then I would say we have a couple of hundred nurses between the inpatient floors of Baystate Children's Hospital and our ambulatory sites, probably a couple of hundred nurses. And we do not see the turnover in nursing and physician staffing like the adult side does. And I think it's just because the environment in pediatrics is just different, right? It's just the kid is the center of everything we do, and that's very fulfilling. And so it's a great place to work. Baystate has been a great place to work, and the Children's Hospital actually does great work and continues to do great work. And
they also help. They don't just treat the child that's sick, but they help the families as well.
Absolutely.
You can't
take care of a child without the family, right?
But I was talking to somebody not too long ago who had said to me, well, Baystate's doing a radiothon, you should talk to them. And they were from somewhere like Pittsfield or the northwestern Massachusetts. And they said that when they brought their child to Baystate, that the Children's Hospital helped the family as well, finding a place to stay for short term while their child was being treated. And a kind of care level and concern that you don't see necessarily in adult facilities.
Exactly. But that kind of care of the child and the entire family is typical of any children's hospital. I wish I could say we were unique among children's hospitals. We're not, but we are a state-of-the-art children's hospital. You really can't take care of the child without the family. And I'll give a little shout out to the Ronald McDonald House, which is just a few blocks from Baystate Children's Hospital. They have great facilities there where families can stay while their child is in the hospital if you're a long way from home.
And how long has the Children's Hospital been around?
Oh, that is a great question. So I would say, I think back to the early 70s. So the neonatal intensive care unit, don't hold me to any of these dates. The neonatal intensive care unit was opened in the 70s. We had a handful of specialists. Then we opened a cystic fibrosis clinic. And then we started hiring subspecialists. We have a pediatrics residency as well as a medicine pediatrics residency. So we've been training pediatricians in one program or another really for the last 40 years. About half of the pediatricians in Western Mass actually trained at Baystate Children's Hospital. And then by 1992 is when we got our initial certification as a children's hospital. So we had sort of met the kind of standards of care required for children's hospitals. About 60% of all children's hospitals in the country are a hospital like ours within a big adult medical center. But if you pay attention, the environments are very different, right? You walk into Baystate Children's Hospital within Baystate Medical Center. It's a very different feel, very different care than on the adult side. That's not to say the adult side isn't delivering great care. They are. But as we've been talking about now for quite a while, adult care is different from pediatric care.
And you also train, because Baystate has university and medical school affiliations, you're training the next generation of doctors and nurses to make sure that the Children's Hospital's around long after you've retired.
We are, and we take that mission very seriously. So we're training University of Massachusetts Chan Medical School medical students in their pediatrics rotation, which happens in the 3rd year. And then many of them come back and do electives with us in the 4th year. And then after you graduate from medical school, we take interns and residents into our PEDS and med-PEDS training programs from all over the country. But we love being a regional campus of UMass Chan. It's been a fabulous experience for staff, for faculty, for our trainees, for everyone.
Before we go, once again, tell people where their dollars are going to go this year's Radiothon on WMAS, what some of the key things that Baystate Children's Hospital needs.
So we will use your dollars to upgrade equipment and buy equipment, kind of like the ultrasound machine I was talking about, or a giraffe bed. There's some other equipment we're looking at that's getting old and needs to be replaced. Upgrading facilities, newer furniture, whatever it takes to make that environment more child-friendly, to support programs like our palliative care program, our facility dog program, and then, odds and ends that makes the experience in a children's hospital more comfortable, more supportive, whether that's, books or toys or really anything. So I am so grateful for the community support for Baystate Children's Hospital. Please either tune in or go online to the Baystate Children's Hospital Radiothon. Thanks to your support, we will take great care of your children.
One last question. If there's somebody that owns a business or works for a major company that wants to do something special for Baystate, who do they reach out to if they have something that they want to do beyond giving their $5 or their $10 or their $1,000?
Great question. Please reach out to Baystate Health Foundation. Kathy Tobin right now is the interim director of Baystate Health Foundation, and she would love to help you with that. And I'm happy to give anyone who's interested in the kind of gift that you're talking about a tour of Baystate Children's Hospital.
And one thing to remember for our listeners out there are a lot of ways that you can support Baystate. You can support them with a cash gift or an in-kind contribution that the foundation can help you with, or a legacy gift. You can include the Children's Hospital in your will for once you're gone. That money can really go in the long term. So, Dr. Boney, good luck with the Radiothon. Those of you that are listening and watching, it's coming up real soon. Go to baystatehealth.org for the details. Dr. Boney, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. Thanks to your listeners.
Take care. And this wraps up this edition of On the Mark. We want to thank you for joining us. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week.
From Hollywood and Vine, entertainment capital of the world, it's the Hour of Power, featuring the song stylings of America's favorite balladeer, Jimmy Powers!
Look out, look out, look out for yourself.
You gotta look out for yourself if you're hoping to be first. Then you better dig me first, or you gotta finish last. You gotta look out for yourself if you follow this format.
Yeah.
You'll be nobody's doormat.
Oh yeah.
It's a rule that's hard and fast.
It's a rule that's hard and fast.
This world ain't pure. On this you can depend. You'd best be sure that you're your own best friend. You gotta look out, for yourself if you're planning to do good. Then be sure it does you good. You don't wanna be too good. You gotta look out for yourself. You know the score when you adore yourself. When you're in danger, you can count on me to shine. Look out for yourself. Look out. on the score when you tell yourself when you're in danger, you can't count on me to shine. Look out for yourself. Look out for yourself.